And if you haven't been outside today, or if you have, you may have noticed that it's a bit hazy outside, and aside from being a pesky menace for drivers, it also poses some health issues.
Yeah, but we spoke with a physician at South Texas Health Systems who says that there are things that we can do to help keep some of those issues away.
Hand washing to prevent infections, as well as mask use in areas that are high occupancy of people that are passing by a lot, or stay away from areas with a lot of dust, like moving boxes, or inside the house where there's a lot of dust. That try to avoid all that part too.
That was Dr. Kador that we just heard from, and he said that a lot of pollution stems from factories and vehicles, so staying away from major roadways can also help to mitigate some of those, issues
that might crop up, yeah. And it's not something that cropped up this morning. This is actually a video that our Marcelo Rivera Gonzalez shot last night in Weslaco. So let's bring him in now.
Well, guys, it has been a very wild scene since last night, like you just mentioned, Rudy and Ale. It's been hazy. It's been, there's a lot of pollution and contamination around the entire valley. That's just Weslaco, but actually all the way from the upper valley to the mid valley and the lower regions of the valley, all the way to the island, are actually experiencing these very difficult weather conditions when it comes to that pollution in the air. And there's a scientific explanation on why this is happening. So let's take a look at those graphics that I just prepared for you guys today. First, let's take a look quickly about on what the normal profile of the atmosphere actually looks like. So first, this is the normal profile. Basically, the temperature is decreasing with high. The higher you go, the temperature tends to decrease. However, this actually allows to the air to rise. Now, when we are talking about temperature inversion, which is the reason why we are having these conditions, we're basically saying that temperature increases in a small layer above that cooler air, and the warm layer traps the air beneath, which prevents the air to rise. Now, what are the effects of this situation on the air quality? The following. Basically, the air quality gets affected in the sense that that inversion keeps pollution from cities, cars, construction sites, which we all know we have many here in the valley, and thus closer to the surface. So basically, it's just trapping all of those particles and those pollutants in the surface. And by the way, with the current high temperatures that we have, these conditions get exacerbated by these very warm temperatures across the valley, which is the reason why you see the sky looking grayish. It kind of feels like it's foggy, but it's not. It's just dust. It's pollutant from the cars. It's ozone from the pollutions emitted by the vehicles. So it's a lot there's a lot of many elements involved in this situation. It's not just pollutants coming from a specific direction brought by the winds, yes, but it's a combination of every single element out there in the valley, coming from the south brought by the winds, and it's just a massive mess, so to speak. So to make it more simpler for you guys to understand, it's basically a whole combination of many, many elements out there. And speaking of which, the air quality right now, it's basically between unhealthy and slightly unhealthy in every place around the valley, which means that sensitive groups need to take medications and use an N95 mask if necessary, especially if you work outdoors, if you work in agriculture, or if you're spending time outdoors later today, tonight, and also tomorrow, because this is not going to change at least until Sunday. Now, talking about weather and how temperatures are going to behave tonight, again, temperatures are going to be more on that warmer side of the weather department, 67 for McAllen and 66 for Weslaco. So you shouldn't be surprised if we actually see this very same pattern repeated all over the place later tonight across the valley with hazy looking skies because of those temperatures and those winds basically bringing those particles across the entire valley. And again, here's the wind forecast for the next 24 hours. It's just more of the same. It's going to keep blowing from the south-southeast, bringing the warm conditions and bringing those pollutant particles across the entire region. Now, switching gears just a little bit, we are in February. So technically, our conversation should be about colder weather because technically we are still in the winter season. But this is our talk of the town. It's just not only the hazy conditions, but also the high temperatures for tomorrow, Friday. The average high should be 79, but across the valley, what you're going to see, feel, or experience is just temperatures way above 79. Again, the mid-valley and the upper valley, the places with the higher temperatures between 92 and 95 degrees across the region with mostly sunny and very hot conditions across the valley. So it's going to be another warm day, completely atypical for this time of the year here in the valley. And looking ahead, well, things are not going to change that much, at least until the weekend. It's just going to keep, the weather is just going to remain dry and the temperatures above average, warm conditions across the board. And things will slightly change just a little bit between Saturday and Sunday when a cold front, a very weak, dry cold front would actually cross the region really fast. It should be out of the valley by Monday morning, but it will bring some slight relief when it comes to the temperatures, and the morning lows on Monday should be dropping to those upper 40s and lower 50s, and this may actually bring an additional relief when it comes to the hazy conditions across the valley. And looking at the 7-day forecast, this is how it's going to look like for Friday. A height of 91 on average across the valley. Some places may actually see a little bit more higher temperatures. And then next week, we're going to have more seasonal conditions across the region with temperatures, the heights in the 70s and the lows at night in those upper 40 degrees.
So let me ask you this, as someone who is, I'm lucky, I guess, for us, when you look at the range of how bad it could be for an allergy sufferer. How long do temperature inversions typically last?
So they can last between several days, several hours to several days. So it's not something very dangerous, but again, those who suffer from allergies or respiratory illnesses should take this into consideration. And again, on Sunday, we're going to have a crossing of a cold front, so this should alleviate those conditions just a little bit.
All right. It's going to be 90-something anyway this weekend, so might as well stay inside and enjoy the air conditioning. Thanks so much, Marcelo. We'll check in with you again a little bit later in the newscast. But